Hi, this is Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin. I want to respond to a letter that I received from a young fourth grader named Ava. She wrote the following. She says, "Dear Governor Bevin, hello. My name is Ava Hunt, and I attend Pleasant View Christian School in Erlanger, Kentucky. I am in the fourth grade, and I am 9 years old. I am doing a social studies project and would like to know which president you admire the most and why. Thank you for all the hard work you do for our state. Sincerely, Ava." Ava, I'll tell you, I love George Washington. I like a lot of the presidents. I'm grateful to every president who's ever been willing to run for office and been willing to serve this country. But I think among all the presidents we've had, 45 now through the history of the United States, I love George Washington. And I do for a lot of reasons. Number one, he was the first president, but he was a man who gave so much to help this nation first be born as the leader of the Continental Army. The people who said, the king is taking taxes from us, but he's not giving us a fair representation. We're being punished as colonists. This isn't fair. George Washington was already a wealthy man. The king didn't bother him. And so he really didn't have a reason to get engaged. A lot of people back then didn't want to get involved. They didn't want to start trouble with the king. But George Washington knew that if people like us don't get involved, well, then we'll never have any rights. We won't have any representation, and the king will do whatever he wants with us. So when people came to him and said, hey, will you help us throw off this king and get our independence and start this new America, this new country? He said, yes, I'm willing to serve. So he was the leader of the army. And it was a hard job. And he used his own money, and he used his influence and connections, and he used his own resources to provide food and uniforms for his soldiers. Sometimes the pay came from him and John Hancock and others who had some money. But the bottom line is it cost him a lot. He pledged, along with others, his lives, fortunes, and sacred honor as well. And in the end, he gave a lot of these things. He was a man who always gave to others. It was hard to be the leader of the Continental Army. But in the end, they won. After many years and much suffering and a great cost to him personally, they finally won their independence. And then guess what happened? He wanted to go back to his farm. He wanted to go back to Mount Vernon, to his home, and just have his life back. And all the other people, they loved him so much because he was such a good leader. They said, we want you to be the king. He said, what? We just got done getting rid of a king. Why would I want to be the king? And they said, oh, that's a good point. They said, will you be like the emperor or something? He said, no, I don't want to be the emperor. They said, okay, fair enough. So they went back and they voted and they decided unanimously that they wanted him to be the first president of the United States of America. And they came to him and they told him this. They said, we've decided unanimously, which means everybody voted, to agree that we want you to be the first president. And he looked at them and he said, have I not given enough? He actually said, have I not done enough for my country? That was his reaction. Have I not done enough for my country? He knew the sacrifice. He knew the things he'd done. They knew the things he'd done. And he thought to himself, boy, I've done so much. Isn't that enough? But guess what? He did it anyway. Why? Because his country needed him and his fellow Americans needed him. And that's what great leaders do. And that's why he's my favorite president. Because even when he had already given more than anybody, and even when he was tired and thought maybe somebody else should do this for a while, when they came to him and said, we need you to do it, he stepped up again. And the greatest leaders always serve other people first before they take care of themselves. And George Washington was just that kind of a leader. He led by example, and he's my favorite president. Thank you, Ava, for your interest. Thank you for learning about history and studying the presidents. And thank you to your teachers who make sure that you focus on learning about the history of the greatest nation on earth. We are Kentucky.